over there is a dirt track. I have just come in this way. I'm precariously sitting atop of a wall of an ancient city that is quite simply vast. Hello and welcome again to Forgotten Temples with myself, Mr. B. Now, where you find me, as I mentioned in that opening shot, is a vast ancient city that was built in the 12th century. I came here an awful long time ago, and it was one of the very first videos I ever made. And I've got to tell you, it's one of the most popular, but it is the one I'm most embarrassed about because I knew nothing back then. So to do this place true justice, I have come back to show you what is one of the most splendid sights in the whole of Cambodia. And what an amazing city this is. And yet again, I have it to myself. It's so far off the beaten track that almost no tourists come here. But I have carried a burden for 2 long years, and that is the first video I made of this place has proved to be very successful. It's always in the top 3, but I am deeply embarrassed. And the main reason is I never knew who this guy was. This wall is absolutely amazing, and I will be showing you more of it, but not to know who this was. And back then, well, even now, there's no connection to the internet, so I could not look it up, has always been a thing of shame for me, because I try and do these gods justice. So allow me to introduce you at long last to a bodhisattva. And what this is a Buddha that has decided that he would stay on earth for the good of mankind, instead of passing through the gates and moving on to nirvana. Now you may be saying to yourself, but there's only one Buddha. Well, no. There are multiple Buddhas, because the Hindu religion is so old, so complex, and so very mystical. There's in fact different Buddhas for different things, and this is a depiction of just one of them. This is Loksvara. Now I'm going to stand next to him so you can get an idea of his size. The top of my hat is over 6 feet. And look at him, he just towers and looks down upon us in a most benevolent way. But what happened as time went on is King Jayavarman VII, who's responsible for this city and so much more, he said, no, we're not having this complicated, very convoluted religion. What we're going to say and we're going to have is Buddhism light, shall we call it. And within our Buddhism, there should be just one Buddha. The Loksvaras are right there, and here is a big hole. Yes, some of it has been stolen. But to think that a large portion of this wall was dismantled and had to be put back again is just, well, heartbreaking. If this had been lost to a private collection, it just would have been awful. And you're probably thinking, what does it depict? Well, it's all about battle. You see here all these soldiers, as so often these things are. It's all about war and religion. It is the most remarkable piece of sculpture I have ever seen within the Khmer Empire. Some of it has been damaged in a way. Look. Here's the trunk of an elephant, here's the base of an elephant. But there's someone down here I remember seeing a couple of years ago, and I'm looking to see if I can find him again. Oh my Lord, there he is. I was going to cut the film and he just appears. It's this guy. I always remember him, and allow me to explain why. Of all the tens of thousands of ancient faces that I have seen carved on walls and in sculptures and so on, this guy is the one I'll always remember. You see, do you remember me saying I came here 2 years ago when I started this adventure, and I made a video and I was never happy with it? And the reason I started this quest to make the world's first video library of ancient abandoned temples of the Khmer Empire was because I was dying. Now, very shortly, and some of my viewers will know this, is I was a horrendous addict. And I mean really, really bad. I would drink over 1.25 litres of vodka every single day. I'd smoke 60 cigarettes, and I would pop Valium like children pop sweets. I even attempted suicide, and I mean seriously attempted it. I planned it all out, booked myself into a hotel. I have even been thrown in the back of ambulances 3 times, my body convulsing as I fall into a coma due to drink and drugs, and at the hospital they've had to resuscitate me. Now that record is higher than Guns N' Roses, the famous bad boy rock and roll band. So when I came here and I had stopped drinking, I took up templing because I realised, you see, what do you do when you stop something that consumes your entire life? You have to fill the space. And I thought, I know, I'll go looking for temples. And one of the first temples I came to was here, and one of the first ancient faces was this one. A moment frozen in time, a man taking a drink. And in some ways, he spoke to me more than all those kindly people who had offered me advice, but none of them knew how sick I was. And I saw this guy, and I thought, my God, he's a bit like me. Now this is the road that surrounds this ancient city. This is the city itself. There is another external wall. There you see my motorcycle, and this is that most resplendent carving. As you can see, there is nobody here. This is the wonder of what I do, is having sites like this that are true wonders of the world, all to myself. I mean, just imagine that for a moment. An ancient city, now devoid of people, is for you alone. But let us head down this way. And as we walk through this ancient abandoned city, we come across room upon room upon room, now reclaimed by these mighty trees. What these different cells may be, religious cells or rooms before, we simply will never know. There is debris everywhere. This entire city is an absolute wonder to behold. There are ancient libraries, ancient halls, ancient rooms. There is masonry that has tumbled down parts of once mighty towers. There are even doorways in walls. I mean, this is real boys' own stuff. You see the vines creeping downwards, and ahead of you is an ancient doorway, and I honestly have not walked through here. I do not know what I'm about to see. And what we see is yet more masonry. And, oh wow, that's a blind doorway. That's to confuse spirits. But where it leads us to is through to another courtyard. Now I have just clambered through some masonry so I could get into this void here. We are within one of the ancient towers, and what there is, quite incredibly, is an ancient doorway. Now I could tell you, not many people come through here, and the reason I can say that with absolute conviction is I keep bumping into spiders' webs, and that tells me that no one else has come this way. The more spiders' webs that hit you in the face, the less that journey has been travelled. Now there's something here of great danger, and that is venomous snakes absolutely love this environment. And in Asia we have some really nasty ones. So what I do before I move forward As I bang my feet, I send vibrations through the floor to let any snakes know that there's something big coming, and hopefully they will leave me alone. But I tell you what, it can be a little frightening. Not only did the Khmer Rouge destroy temples such as this, they also left an awful lot of landmines. So there's landmines and venomous snakes often in my path. Oh dear, I can't see, you see, so I'm having to move rather slowly. There we go. Okay. Isn't it incredible? Just look at what's on your screen. That on its own is almost a religious experience. And to think it is this ancient corridor that now is hardly ever trodden, was once the centre of a mighty kingdom. It was here the wise ancients walked. It is here the priests and the princes formulated their plans and lived out their lives. But as we come to the end of this corridor, we do see there is a small altar. A local person has put up a little shrine, and it's in the perfect place because look at my feet here. There once a god stood. This is the base of a statue, and over here we see another. This clearly shows what I was speaking of the looting that went on here. But now all we have is this glistening in the sunlight. Now don't you go thinking that last wall I showed you was the only one of its kind. No, not at all. I'm clambering over large lumps of masonry, bits of temple that have fallen down. And I'll tell you what, it's one of my most favourite things in the world to do. There are walls like the one we've just seen that stretch all around this city. So I need to give you an idea as to the size of this city, don't I? Well, it is about, it is about 2 kilometres squared. It is quite simply vast. And look at the detailing that they put into it. These are all depictions of war. That was one of the great motivators. So why is this city here? Well, that also is hotly debated. You see, it was considered by some to be a military outpost, but also because there's so much rice here, it's an excellent region to grow rice. It was an extension of the capital of the mighty empire. But I tell you what, it did have its unbelievable golden days. But what was to come in future years was quite simply horrific. You see, Cambodia has had one of the most horrific chapters in the world's history. The Khmer Rouge took over the country. They killed 2.5 million people in a few short years. I call it a carousel of carnage. It was quite simply killing for the sake of killing. And the Khmer Rouge held this place. It is right next to the Thai border. So they had this as a kind of sanctuary for themselves, and as the government military advanced towards them, they legged it into Thailand and a level of safety. But whilst they were here, they looted this place of all its statues. And there would have been literally thousands of them. But what was worse is when the Khmer Rouge left, it was open season. Anyone could come here. It is so remote that people brought in chainsaws and they hacked at the walls and they hacked at the carvings. They brought block and tackle and they towed it all away. This place was raped and pillaged mercilessly. So when we look upon that wall that we just saw, we must look upon it with wonder, because it is a miracle that it has survived. And as we stroll around this ancient, abandoned royal city, for it was a royal city, we see more towers, more temples, more grandness. Now we know as to how savagely this place was looted, but there was so much to loot. They did not take things like these faces. If you look there, the right one has had his face taken off, the left Buddha has not. And that is unusual, because nearly always all these faces have gone. And if we just step away from this beautiful ornate doorway, and there's many of them, we will see round the corner, look, a beautiful lady. And fortunately, her face is also still intact. So what we have here is a vast ancient city, nigh on 2 kilometres square. And it is devoid of all humans. Even today, I am the only Westerner that is here today. And I've only seen 3 locals passing from one side to another to go to their rice fields. This huge, ancient, abandoned city is all mine today. But there's another aspect to it, beyond the grandeur of man and gods, and that is this: trees and nature. You see, when man left, nature took over, and look how small I am on your screen compared to this, the roots. And it's worth amplifying that these are the roots of a tree, and it soars all the way up to the sky and potentially to the gods themselves, where I'm sure it would kiss their feet for creating such a majestic environment. And what you may well be thinking is, well, where did it all go wrong? I mean, why was it abandoned? Well, there's a few theories, but the main one that makes most sense was there was a series of droughts. And because this city was so dependent on the fertile rice fields that surrounded it, it then went in decline. And the empire itself, of course, did decline, and it retreated. It had attacked others, and others were now attacking them. And so the mighty Khmer Empire, just like the Roman Empire, dissipated like so much dust in the wind. But look what they left behind. It is quite simply heart-stopping, and it's something I dedicate my life to. And I very much hope that you have enjoyed this little romp around an ancient, mystical, wondrous land that's in a far-off country. And if by chance you could help me build this library of abandoned, forgotten temples, then I would be truly grateful. Now, how you do that is very simple. It's www.patreon.com/temples. As simple as that. So, until next time, I wish you absolutely nothing but, of course, the very best. You be sure to take good care now.